Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Packers legends playing future in doubt as Steelers hold head-turning draft visit. Former Green Bay Packers quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, has had yet another offseason in the headlines. After being cut by the New York Jets, the 4X MVP has remained silent on his next destination, despite the conventional wisdom maintaining that he has but one realistic option still open to him, the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, he has yet to make an official decision, even after a 6-hour visit with the team last month. And whilst the Steelers are seemingly content, for the moment, to wait on the future Hall of Famer, this will not stop them from doing their draft due diligence, with the team having a very notable 30 visit on Tuesday. Colorado's Shedeur Sanders, widely considered to be one of the top QBs in this year's draft alongside Cam Ward and Jackson Dart, went to visit Pittsburgh at their facility. NFL insider Jordan Schultz made a point to note that this does not discount them from the race to add Rodgers, whom they reportedly maintain an interest in. But they have, per Schultz, done extensive work on the quarterback class this draft season. A visit is, and should be, regarded as just that. A visit. However, teams do not just randomly select who they bring into the building, especially for their 30 visits, which limits teams to bringing in just 30 players in the entire draft class for in-person visits. Yet, this visit alone probably does not spell doom for the prospect of Rodgers heading back to the Midwest, with the team having already hosted college quarterbacks, Tyler Shaw and Jackson Dart in top 30 visits during the draft process. But the extensive work on the class, particularly on a player like Sanders, who many believe could well be long gone by the time Pittsburgh picks at 21, certainly does raise eyebrows as to the genuine seriousness of their Rodgers inquiry. Indeed, even if they do sign the former Packer, they will likely only want him to start for a maximum of 1 year as their bridge quarterback, prior to another younger signal caller taking over. This is a role that Rodgers will be very familiar with from his time in Green Bay, where he sat in front of Jordan Love for 3 seasons before the now incumbent Packers QB1 took over in 2023. A situation that mirrored Rodgers' own entry into the league, sitting behind Hall of Famer Brett Favre for 3 seasons before being given the keys to the kingdom. It is quite possible that the former Cal star will be reticent to once again be a placeholder for yet another up-and-coming rookie quarterback. But, perhaps at age 41, he may well know that is his only option left. Draft analyst names 6 mid-round running back targets Steelers should consider. If the Pittsburgh Steelers don't take a running back in the first round, they may still be in luck. Even without a second-round pick, they will have talent available to them in the middle rounds. They have already explored some of these options, with Bashal Tutin the most recent name. While they might not find a do-everything back later in the draft, the Steelers can certainly improve their backfield considerably. Draft analyst Nick Baumgardner shared some names Pittsburgh should mind when it comes to the middle rounds later this month. Tutin was one of them, but there were others as well. After the second, you're looking at players like R.J. Harvey, Arizona State's Cam Skattebo, Georgia's Trevor Etienne, Kansas State's DJ Giddens, Tutin, and Jordan James. Baumgardner said of potential Steelers running back draft targets after the second round. All of those guys are capable of immediately contributing in a 2-back rotation next season. Of that list, the Steelers brought in 2, Tutin and Giddens, for pre-draft visits. They will have inevitably had points of contact with the rest during the pre-draft cycle, as well. As is a common theme in this draft, the skill set these players offer vary. Unsurprisingly, we have covered this area extensively in our draft profiles, if the Steelers brass want to read them. Here is one on Harvey, for example, and another on Etienne. If you want to read about Skattebo or perhaps Giddens, you can do so through those links. Likewise, to find out more about Tutin, and finally James, those resources are available. Notably, the Steelers haven't even drafted a running back since taking Najee Harris in the first round in 2021. Earlier this offseason, they let Harris walk in free agency, setting the table for 2022 college free agent Jaylen Warren to assume the lead responsibility. Last year, they also signed Cordarrelle Patterson in free agency. While he remains under contract, some question for how much longer. Between 2017 and 2020, the Steelers drafted running backs pretty regularly. Even with Le'Veon Bell, they drafted James Conner in the third round in 2017. During the 2019 draft, they added Benny Snell Jr., and a year after that, Anthony McFarland Jr. Since Harris in the subsequent class, however, they haven't taken another running back. In other words, the Steelers are very much due to draft a running back, and this class is the one to need a running back. For Baumgartner, Tootin and Harvey could be really nice fits in the Steelers scheme under Arthur Smith. I also think both these players are good enough to make defenses honest when a team wants to get big and run the ball downhill, he wrote. Draft analyst thinks Shedeur Sanders is pretty easy choice for Steelers, but Kenneth Grant will be better. There's been a lot of smoke lately about Colorado QB Shedeur Sanders falling in the 2025 NFL Draft. With a need at quarterback, the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 21 overall have been tabbed as a potential landing spot. Appearing on the PM team on 93.7 The Fan, CBS draft analyst Ryan Wilson said that if Sanders falls to Pittsburgh it would be a pretty easy choice. I think Shedeur at 21, it feels like a pretty easy choice to me, and a choice that I would feel better about as someone who spent a lot of time with this draft class than Jackson Dart at 21. However, Wilson cautioned that if the Steelers do take Sanders or a quarterback, the hit rate is lower and that they could pass up on a better player like Michigan DT Kenneth Grant. If you're asking me who's going to be the better player in 5 years, Kenneth Grant, the defensive tackle, or a quarterback, I would probably lean Kenneth Grant because you know the type of consistency you're going to get and it's so hard to project what these quarterbacks are going to be at the next level. A first-round quarterback has been a popular choice for Pittsburgh in mock drafts, although Wilson has the team selecting Ole Miss DL Walter Nolan in his 3-round mock draft. He had Sanders going number 2 to the Cleveland Browns, but said on 93.7 that there's been buzz that Sanders could fall beyond the top 3 picks, leaving his most likely first-round options as the New Orleans Saints at number 9 and Pittsburgh. Without Aaron Rodgers signed, the quarterback remains a need for the Steelers, but the defensive line also has holes that the team needs to fill, especially with Cameron Hayward going into the 2025 season at 36 years old. After the Baltimore Ravens ran for 299 yards against the Steelers in the wild card round of the playoffs, addressing defensive line would seem to be Pittsburgh's priority, but if Sanders does fall, he could be too intriguing to pass up. Per Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Sanders is coming to Pittsburgh for a pre-draft visit on Thursday, which only will fuel more fire to the idea that he could be Pittsburgh's first-round pick. Even if they sign Rodgers, Sanders could sit behind him and develop and take over as the Steelers' quarterback of the future. It's undoubtedly a risk, though, as it always is when a team drafts a first-round quarterback. But with the Steelers have no long-term outlook at the position, they may value drafting Sanders if they feel he can be a future starter. For much of the pre-draft process, he's been looked at as a potential top 3 pick, and falling to 21 could represent good value for the Steelers. And you fan? What do you think about Shedeur Sanders' situation? Write to us in the comments.